Welcome to Ivri Anochi. I am a Hebrew, learning biblical Hebrew through the book of Jonah. I am Rabbi Rafi Mallet, also known as Everybody's Rebbe. You can find me here on my YouTube channel or on my website, Rabbi Rafi Mallet RabbiRafiMallet.com. You can email me at RabbiRafiMallet@gmail.com, especially if you would like to join us live in the virtual studio. Send me an email, RabbiRafiMallet@gmail.com, and you can join
Rabbi,
us
I cannot
here.
hear you.
You cannot hear me? Is my sound not on? My sound
I can
should
hear
be on.
you. Yeah, I
Well,
can hear you.
it seems like others can hear me, so
I can
don't know
hear
why
you.
And yeah, I'm being heard. So Cliff, I don't know why you don't hear me. That is going to be your your issue. Let me type to Cliff in the private chat. Everyone else hears me, so your sound must be off or something. Okay, I don't want Cliff to miss out. Okay, fine. So hopefully everyone else hears me okay. On YouTube, they're telling me they can hear me. So I know my
You were right. It was, for some reason, I went muted. Sorry about that.
We're glad you can hear us again. This series is brought to you by the Seattle Kollel. If you'd like to make a donation, go to seattlekollel.com, SeattleKollel.com. And with no further ado, we will get into the class. We were in the middle of verse number 5 last time. So just to remind everybody, okay, right now in the live chat, there is a pinned comment with a link to the Google Doc with the study resources. It is also in the description of this video if you're watching it later. If you're on my email list, you received it in the email. Go to that link, click on it, and you will see the following screen, which I'm going to share. Ready, and there it is. Okay, I'm going to enlarge that so everybody could see it nice and big. Okay, so what you want is you want to click on the top link, which is the worksheets. Open that up. And then once you have that open, you're going to click on File. You're going to click Make a Copy. And you'll have copy of Jonah worksheets. I'm going to go with, this is class 7. I'm changing the name. You don't have to change the name. And just to differentiate it from all my other copies from all the other classes. And then you will be able to edit this copy, because you can't edit my copy, but you can edit your copy. So if you don't like to do this technical stuff, you could just have a piece of paper and take notes. But for me, this is the best way. So I'm going to scroll down to verse number 5. And we were in the middle of it. And oh, you know what? Somebody pointed out to me something that I have to make a correction. Last time I had accidentally left off these 2 words in my worksheet, which I added back. But I got an email from someone that I left these words out. So we did this last time. We're going to quickly retranslate it so we don't spend too much time on it. But we had this verse, Vayire'u hamalochim, which we said means, and the sailors feared. Okay. Vayizaku, and they cried out. Okay, we're going to just get up to the point we were. And they cried out. Ish el Elohav, which we said ish could mean man or each, or in this case, both. Each man or rather, that wasn't the best way to do it. Whatever. Each man to his that's what I messed up there. Each man to his god or gods. The word Elohav is technically is the we said the suffix vav means his, and the noun that precedes it is Elohim. Elohim, which could be, it really is a plural noun, but as we spoke out, the word for God is written in the plural in Hebrew, as we often find with beings that are deserving of honor, is that they are described in the plural, and that's an honorific, which we discussed last time. So this could mean each man to his God, despite the fact that it's written in plural. Or it could be plural, each man to his gods, because we don't know if each of these people had several gods. So it could be either way. Okay, each man to his god or to his gods. And then we said this vayatilu es hakelim, and they cast the vessels. And they cast the vessels. Okay. Asher ba'onia, that were in the boat. And if you want to know how we got all this, you have to go to last week's class, because we're just catching up now. We were in the middle. El Hayam. This is what I left out last time. They cast the vessels that were in the boat, El Hayam, to the sea. To the sea. Lehakel, to lighten. Me alehem, from on them. Okay, that's where we stopped. Now, this is a very direct translation. It's a little awkward in English, but you know, if you want to be a stylistic translator, so you have the poetic license to craft the words in a way that sounds more natural or pleasant, aesthetic in English. But the idea is clear. The sailors feared, they were in a storm. As we said in the verse before, it seemed that the boat would break. So they feared, they cried out, each man to his god or each man to his gods. They're all praying to their respective gods, and they were, they were throwing off the boat. Whatever wasn't tied down, they're throwing it off to lighten the boat so it doesn't capsize. Fine. And then let's get to the end part of the verse. And I think this we also translated last time. V'Yonah, very obviously, and Yonah. Oh, you know what else? I have an amazing insight that maybe I'll share, maybe I won't. We'll see if we have time. Maybe if we have time, we'll go back to it later, but I don't know. Somebody asked a question one of the previous classes, and I gave an off-the-cuff answer. And then I was studying the commentary of Ramban, that's Nachmanides, on this week's Torah portion. I should say this past week's Torah portion. And the same phenomenon appears in this portion, and he gave a very deep explanation of it. And I was like, oh, we could even apply that to the book of Jonah. But I'm not necessarily going to move backwards now, unless there's extra time, which is unlikely. Okay. And Jonah Yorad, we also had this last time, because we went last time and we first translated all the things that we already knew in the verse. I went back and filled it in. And Jonah descended. Here, this is going to be a lot of new stuff. El Yarkete Hasifina. So El we know is 2. And Yarkete we don't know. And Sifina we don't know. And Hey is the definite article. And it's here and here. The. There was a little star, which we didn't get to last time. Now I want to maybe we'll examine the star soon. Okay. Why does the definite article get 2 appearances here? So we'll discuss it in a little bit. First, this should be green. Whoopsies. Let's just figure out what's going on here. He descended to the something of the something, or I already threw in the word of, like cheated, but to the Yarkete. Okay. So we need to identify what this is. Now, you'll notice at the end of the word is a suffix, and it's one of the suffixes that I think we learned. I think we learned it before. Did we or didn't we? Maybe not. I'm trying to remember if we had it before. Maybe we didn't have it. So that suffix, let me go back to it. That suffix at the end is, we'll look in our glossary and I'll show you which one it is. Open up the glossary. Open up the glossary. Okay. And we'll go to our suffixes, our blue suffixes. Da-dee-da-dee-da. Okay. This is the suffix here. Let me magnify. It's this vowel, the two dots side by side. This is called a tseire, and it makes an A sound for Ashkenazi pronunciation, and Sephardic pronunciation pronounce it with an eh sound. And there's a yud at the end. So this is tseire yud. It's pronounced A, and it means that the noun that it is attached to is a plural noun, and it's possessive, meaning it's of. It's this thing, plural, of. So, if the noun would be, baseball, and it would have a at the end, it would be baseballs of. Okay, that's the idea. So let's go back to our verse, or where's our verse? See, I get all confused with my tabs. I'm like all over the place. Okay, here it is. So, all right. So now we have yarkite. So whatever this first part is, it's that plural of. So we have to figure out what this is. So let's go back to our glossary to find it. All right. So you can, let me go back to the glossary tab. Okay. We'll find that word. And it's over here. And you'll notice it's already plural. This word is already plural. The word yarkatayim. Yarkatayim is a plural noun. Why didn't I just put it in singular? There really isn't a singular for this. Although I'll just go a little bit into it. Yarkatayim, which you could see, it means the low part, the far end, or the extremity, okay, is really based on another word, which is yerech, okay, or yarech. These first three letters, which means the thigh, could refer to the thigh, could refer to the leg, could refer to the loins. It's a lower extremity, okay? Yarkatayim, which is plural, refers to like the lowest, furthest parts of something, okay? Not necessarily a body part, but an inanimate object. So it is the far ends of the lower parts of the extremity of what? So let's look at the next word in the verse. Okay. So again, Jonah descended to the lower parts of the depths of, if you will, Hasifina. So let's actually fill this in. I don't know, somebody give me a good word for this.
There's a couple. You can use nethermost parts or bowels of the ship.
The bowels, that's good. The bowels of, like that. The bowels of the, you cheated because you told me already that Sifina is ship.
My bad.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong, but you are cheating. Okay, but fine. If you looked in the glossary, you'd find Sifina is ship. Now here, I want to ask a question. And again, we still have this star to explore. But earlier in the same verse, it says that they threw the vessels that were in the Oniya, the boat, right? The boat, the ship, the boat. Here it says Oniya, and here it says Sifina. Now, why change the word in the middle of the verse? Now, I want to tell you a principle. That this principle is clarified in the Malbim, the work of the Malbim. Malbim is an acronym in Hebrew for Rabbi Meir Leibish ben Yechiel Michel. Malbim, Mem Lamed Bet Yud Mem. Meir Leib ben Yechiel Michel. He was a great commentary on the Tanakh from the 19th century, and his commentary is based on a very careful, nuanced reading of the differences in wording in the verses, so that when two different words are used to describe the same thing, he says, "What's that about?" His premise is that there really are no synonyms in Hebrew. There are words that mean similar things, but despite the similarity, there's also some nuance that distinguishes between these two things. So you can have words that have similar meaning, but nothing the exact same meaning, because this is a divine language. Welcome, Aryeh. This is a divine language. So, God's just not making up words for the fun of it. Every word has a precise meaning. So here is one of those examples where the question is, you have the word oniya, meaning boat, and you have the word sifina, meaning boat. What is the difference between these two? So I'm going to let anyone who wants to try go ahead, and then I'll tell you his way of parsing these two. Anyone have a thought?
Well, in English, a boat can be any size boat,
Okay.
but a ship is something particular. It's not like a rowboat, it's a ship. So I don't know if it's the same description in Hebrew.
Well, okay, you want to say one's like a bigger category and one is like a subcategory. You could have boats of many sizes, and
Yeah.
I'm not sure that that's the case, meaning I'm not sure that Oniya, I don't know what size it's limited to, and Sifina also I'm not sure. Although actually we're going to see that a Sifina does indicate a certain size, as a matter of fact. So you may be right about that. You may be right about that. I'll tell you what Malbim says. He says that while the Oniya refers to the boat, the Sifina refers to the lower part of the boat, meaning it's based on the root. Sifina is based on the root Samech Pei Nun, which is closely related also to those who, again, even without me relating it to it, it still means this. But people may be more familiar with the word safun. Safun in Hebrew means hidden, and that's with a tzadi, which is a very similar sound to a samech. A samech is an S sound. A tzadi for Ashkenazim is like a TS, like if you're hitting the cymbals on your drum, okay, like a pizza. But for Sephardic Jews, as a matter of fact, the tzadi makes also an S sound. It's an identical sound to the samech. So these are very closely related sounds, and they're somewhat interchangeable. So tzafun, as many people may recognize from the Pesach Seder, from the Passover Seder, one of the sections is called tzafun. Tzafun meaning hidden. That's when we take out the afikomen. The afikomen is the portion of the matzah which we break earlier in the Seder ceremony, and we put it away for later, and it's hidden. And tzafun means hidden. That's what the word means in Hebrew, tzafun, hidden. But safun also means hidden. And where do we find that? We find that in at the end of Deuteronomy, when at the very end of the Torah, when Moshe is describing, or rather, he's giving blessings to the tribes, right? Vezot haBeracha. And this is the blessing that Moshe gave the tribes. So he talks about the tribe of Gad, and he says that they chose to live on the eastern bank of the Jordan. Vayar Reshit Lo, he says they saw the Reshit, the first portion for themselves. They took the first portion for themselves, that is the portion on the east side of the Jordan before the nation crossed over to the west. Why did they choose that portion? Kisham Chelkat Mechokek Safun, because Sham there, Chelkat Mechokek, Chelkat is from the word Chelek, meaning portion. The portion of the Mechokek, a Mechokek means an engraver, or in this context, a lawgiver, because laws are etched in stone. So it's a engraver, the lawgiver, because there the portion of the lawgiver, Safun, is hidden. what Moshe means there is, again, he's speaking poetically. It's a poetic portion. That's why the wording is so bizarre. But he means that somehow, because they knew that Moshe would not be permitted to enter the land of Israel, he would have to be buried on the eastern bank of the Jordan. And they did not want to abandon Moshe. They said, if Moshe stays on the eastern bank of the Jordan, we wish to remain with Moshe. They loved Moshe so much they wouldn't leave him behind. And that's why they chose that portion. And even though you're going to tell me, what do you mean? It says that they came to Moshe and they said, we want to stay on the eastern bank of the Jordan because we have a lot of cattle and it's a land for cattle. So I will, if we don't have the time, but if you ever wanted to study with me, I could show you in the verses there where we can establish that that was not actually their true motive. It was a false motive. I can establish that from the text. But if you read it very superficially, you're going to miss that. But here, Moshe reveals their true motive. He says the reason they wanted to remain on the eastern bank of the Jordan is because Shamach el-Kat Mechokek Safun, there the portion of the lawgiver was hidden. Because Moshe was buried there. He was buried in the earth, which means he's hidden. But also, ultimately, no one knew his burial place. And Moshe was prophetically foreshadowing that as well, that the burial place of Moshe would be hidden. So Safun means hidden. And here, the Sefina, the boat, when you see a boat, especially like Avigal said, a large boat, the way boats work, the buoyancy of the boat is based on the fact that a large portion of the boat actually sinks into the water. So there's a lot of the boat that's actually underneath the water, especially a big boat. A large boat, there's a large portion of it under the water. It's displacing water. So that portion of the boat, which is underneath the water, says the Malbim is called the Sefina. Even though we use it as a word to describe the boat, and it can be used to describe the whole boat, it means, perhaps like Abigail is saying, in particular, a boat which is so large that a large part of it's actually hidden under the water. You don't see the entire boat. So that's the idea of a sifina. So
and it can be hidden under the deck as well, whereas a rowboat is just one.
Very good, and it has a lower decks.
Yeah.
You're right, it has a lower decks. So here, El Yarkete HaSifina means he went to the lower portion of the lower decks of the ship. He went to the bottom of the lower decks of the ship. That's what it means, El Yarkete HaSifina. It's it's a very particular look at the nuance of the word. Fine. Okay. Now let's take a look at this star. Before we do, you know what? I said a lot. Let me take any questions. Anyone has any questions? Okay. Questions or comments are welcome always. And I'm going to go ahead. So let's go to the little star. Little star goes to the notes. And it's here, this one. Okay. In the construct form, what is the construct form? It's like when we said, like this is the bowels of the ship. So the word bowels is in the construct form. Bowels of. It's the bowels of the ship, or the bowels of the lower decks of the ship, if you will. So in the construct form, the definite article precedes, listen carefully, I'm going to explain, precedes the word following the word in the construct form. Meaning what? For example, Yarkete HaSifina, the depths of the boat. So the Hebrew definite article, the hey, where is it? Does it come before the depths? I translate as the depths of the boat. Okay, bowels of the ship, whatever. Does it come before the word depths or before the word boat? So you can see in the Hebrew that the definite article comes before the word boat or ship. But in English, see, this is just an idiomatic difference between English and Hebrew. In Hebrew, when you have a word in the construct form and you want to use the definite article, you don't put the definite article before the noun in the construct form. You put it before the next noun. So but it's understood to be referring to the first noun as well. It's like being shared, if you will. So yarkete, you don't say ha yarkete sifina or ha yarkete ha sifina. You never have the ha before that construct form word. You have it afterwards. So when we see yarkete ha sifina, you have to know that in English, you have to put the definite article before. And that's just an idiomatic difference between the way things are expressed in English and the way they're in Hebrew. So yarkete, hasifina, this hey tells you it's the depths, the bowels of the ship. So I starred that because it looks funny that I put that I didn't put it. In Hebrew, the definite article is here, and yet in English it's here and here. Why? Because that's the way the Hebrew expression is expressed. So you just have to know that when you're translating. Okay. I don't know how clear that was, but as this phenomenon repeats itself, you'll get the hang of it. Okay. Stop me with questions at any time. Now we're going to go on to the next part. Okay. Vayishkav. We did last time, and he. Okay. I don't want that to be capitalized. And he something, right? So shachav, the shoresh shachav, for anyone who might have seen it in the glossary. Anyone want to blurt out the answer?
It means to lie down.
To lie down. That's right. And we have that in the glossary. So, and he lay down, past tense of lie down is lay down. I know people get very confused about lay or lie. So in the present tense, just to clarify, because I'm a grammar nerd, in the present tense, to lie down, right, is to lie flat. In the present tense, to lay down means to lay something else down. You know, I'm gonna lay this book down. Okay, I lie down myself, but I lay something else down. In the past tense, you don't say I lied down. Okay, you say I lay down, and that means myself. So just for those people who are nitpicky, like, oh, lay down, lie down. I know what I'm talking about. Okay, I know grammar.
I love your grammar. I'm a grammar nerd too.
Oh, thanks. So just in case anybody wanted to get me on that one, I got you back. Okay, now, Vayeradam, and he, get rid of that uppercase, and he, Radam, we have in the glossary, means to
Fall asleep.
fall asleep. That's right. And he lay down and he fell asleep. Fell asleep. All the words are in the glossary. And by the way, if you look at the link sheet, which I put up in the beginning, the resource sheet, you'll notice I updated all the links. Updated January 28. Everything's updated. Even the first Quizlet set is updated. And the second one is updated. I made some changes. And I made a third one. This is new. This is a third Shorushim set. Again, the vocabulary lists, first and second, have been updated. And there's a new one. There's a third one. The prefixes updated, and there's a second one. The suffixes updated, and there's a second one. Everything I added. So I know the last couple of weeks I didn't keep up so well. This week I put a lot of work into updating all that. So you can study everything that we're doing tonight. You can study on your own.
Rabbi, it's interesting, the word lirdom. It's kind of like isn't it kind of like a kind of a trance-like state? It's not like lishon. It's not like to sleep. It's more like to go into a
yes,
because it's sleep. In the other, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I'm with you.
Yeah, I was just going to say, in the other cases where that word is used, for instance, I think it's used with Abraham in the covenant of the parts and other places. It's kind of like he's going into a trance-like state where he's going to speak to God, right?
Correct. So you're thinking of in Abraham in Genesis 15, it talks about a tardema. Abraham goes into a state of tardema from the same shorish, radam, tardema. And there it is, a deep sleep, like a prophetic trance. You are correct. Now, the question is that what's happening over here? Unclear. In other words, the idea of lahei radem, to fall asleep, here I think the connotation could be just to fall into a deeper state of unconsciousness
Yeah.
than you're already in. And being conscious and going to unconscious, I think you could say lahera dame even without it being prophetic, because I don't know of another verb that means to fall asleep. You could use a verb for to sleep. You
Right.
could have said, and he lay down and he slept, but that would be vayishan.
Hmm.
But it's not saying he slept. It's saying he fell into
He fell
a
into
sleep.
sleep. Yeah. Now I understand.
Okay, so I don't know that it necessarily has to imply a deep sleep, but if you would say the noun tardema versus saying the noun shena, which means sleep. So what's tardema? Tardema is a deep sleep, like you're saying, like a prophetic trance. So that's good. Okay, so we have verse 5 now. The sailors feared and they cried out, each man to his god or to his gods, and they cast the vessels that were in the boat into the sea to lighten from on them, right? To lighten the load on the boat. And Jonah descended to the bowels of the ship and he lay down and he fell asleep. Okay. Any questions on that before we go on to verse 6? Verse 6. Any questions? Let's see if there's any comments in the. Okay. Oh, Reb Nachshon, it's great to see you. Okay. Always free to interrupt me at any time. Everybody knows that.
I've got a little thought on
Yeah.
falling asleep. If someone's just slept, they could just be having a light sleep, like one of those lighter layers of sleep. Whereas if you actually, perhaps it's referring to if you fall asleep, you actually go through all the deep stages of sleep. So within your first 2 hours, you drop down into delta sleep.
Okay.
And then gradually over the next few hours of sleep, your consciousness starts to return and you climb back up to alpha sleep and so on. So perhaps within that concept of falling asleep, there is that thought behind it that he's actually going through the proper stages of sleep, dropping down into delta and then coming back up.
Right. And it's what's very interesting is, I never really gave much thought to this before, but here you're saying, it seems like Jonah is trying to get as low as he possibly can get. He goes down to Jaffa, right? He goes down into the boat. We have him descending many times. We go all the way back, right? He says, Vayered Yafo. He descends to Jaffa. He finds a boat. Vayered Ba. He descends into it. Now, so first he descends to Jaffa, then he descends into the boat. Then over here in our verse, he is descending into the bowels of the deep part of the ship. It's down, down, down. He goes down into the bowels of the Sifina, which we said the hidden underparts of the ship. And he lays down, he gets down, Vayerodam, and he falls asleep. He's going deeper and deeper and deeper, physically deeper, and then conscious deeper into a deep state of consciousness. And by the way, I was thinking about this verb that Rodam shares two of the letters with Yorad, right? Yorad is to descend, and then we have the two final letters are the first two of Radam. It's like descending, and then Mem at the end, like the last two. Dom means stillness. Dumama, stillness or silence. Radam, he's just going down, down, down to absolute silence or stillness, almost like death. He's like trying to die in a certain way. Very, very interesting imagery. I'm not sure what to make of it, but it's sort of screaming out to me right now. So thank you for that comment. Any other comments? Well, let's go ahead. Stop me at any time. Okay, so verse 6, I'll sing it out and then we'll translate it. Okay. Vayikra ve'lav rav haKohen vayomer lo malecha nirdam kum kira el Elohecha ulai yesashes ha'Elohim lanu velo noved. Okay, that's how it would be sung. Let's look at there's a nice long phrase here. Okay, Vayikra ve'lav rav haKohen. So we have Vayud, which we all know means
and he.
But I'm going to cheat a little bit. And I'm not going to translate he, because the he here is the Rav HaChovel. And we're going to find out who that is. Abigail, I know you studied ahead, so I know you're ahead of the game right now.
Only
And
a little bit, not much ahead, seriously.
okay. So it's and the Rav HaChovel. Now, based on what I just told you, I have a word in the construct form, and then here's the definite article following it and preceding the next. It's the Rav of the Chovel, the Rav of the Chovel. So I know that this the is like we just learned. Yarketei hasifina, the bowels of the ship. Rav hachovel, the Rav of the Chovel. So it's and this person, and we'll have Rav of the Chovel, okay, does this verb, vayikrav, which we're going to learn, and it's a love. So El, who remembers El?
Two.
And we might modify that again. We're going to start with a direct translation. We might sort of have to tweak it to make a little more, make it a little more smooth in English. But two, and then the Vav suffix. Who remembers that? Okay, two is it's him.
Yeah,
Vav
him
suffix
or
is him.
it's, yeah.
Where did we have it? We had it somewhere. Here, each man, ish el Elohav, each man to Vav ending, his gods, right? So, Vayikrav elav to him. It's El and okay, to him. Now this is easy. Vayomer lo. Everybody should, again, depends how much you practice, but all this is not new. Vayomer lo. Who can help me with that one?
And he did not speak.
Okay, you are almost right. And you're getting tripped up. Okay. Pay attention. Ready? And he spoke. Okay. You had the verb, right? Now, well, the reason you said did not speak is because you are thinking of this word lo, that it's the same as this word lo. Now, notice the difference. Here's Lamed Aleph, okay? And I made it green. Okay, that was a clue. Here is Lamed Vav, and it's pink and blue, which means this is not the word lo like it is over here. This is a prefix Lamed and a suffix Vav, just like over here. Okay?
So it's to him?
To him, that's right. I should not spoke, I'm sorry, said.
Said to
Is
him.
there a big difference? Not for now. There is, but not for now. And he said to him, okay? And the something to him, and he said to him, ma lecha nirdam, okay? Some of you might know ma. It's a very simple Hebrew word. We didn't learn it, so let's pretend we don't know it yet. Lecha, again, we have the lamed prefix as to, okay? The cha suffix, this chaf sofit with a kamatz cha suffix, we didn't learn yet, so let's leave that. Nun prefix, we didn't learn yet. Radam, there it is. Okay, so I'm going to put over here asleep. It changed the color for me, which I didn't want. But you'll notice also that I cheated a little bit and I put the word to be here. It's the implied state of being verb. When we get there, maybe we could do it now even. The nun here, this nun prefix, I know I'm skipping some other things. This nun prefix is the passive form of the verb, okay? It's what's called, I should have put a star and put something in the notes. It's what's called in Hebrew nif'al. If you remember the way we spoke about verb forms and conjugal forms, what are called in Hebrew the binyanim. We always take a sample shoresh, which is the shoresh pei ayin lamed, poal, which means an action, okay? And we conjugate that shoresh the way it would appear in whatever form we're trying to demonstrate. So if I want to demonstrate the passive verb, in Hebrew that's called nif'al. It means I have the nun, the E sound, ni, and then pei ayin lamed, nif'al. So that's exactly the form we have here. It means the verb is happening passively rather than the person doing it. It's, so to speak, being done to him. So nif'al. So I have like the pei here is the resh, the ayin is the daled, and the lamed is the mem. Nif'al nirdam. It's the exact form. So nirdam is to be asleep. It's to be asleep. Okay, nirdam. That's why I put this here. It's the passive form of the verb radam. Okay, so to be asleep, we don't know yet what the rest of it is. Some of this we know already, like kum. Okay, who remembers kum?
Get up.
Get up. Get up. Kira. We had kira. And remember? Where did we have kira? All the way at the beginning.
Call.
Call. Okay, you saved me the time of going back there. Call. But I'll show you anyway, because I want to prove to everybody we learned it. Look, in verse 2, kum, there it is. Get up. Lech el Nineveh, go to Nineveh, ha'ir ha'gedola, the great city. Ukra aleha, he said, and call upon her. Kra, call. Okay, this is not new. You gotta study. So let's go back. Get up, kra. Call. Okay, El.
2.
We had it already just in this lesson. A love to him. Kra El, call to Elohecha. So again, this cha we didn't learn yet, but we have the Elohe part, which is again either God or gods. Okay, call to something, gods. Okay, Ulai we don't know yet. Yisashes we don't know that. Ha Elohim. Okay, we know the definite article. The God or gods. Okay. Lanu. 2 or 4. We'll see which one is there. Ve and okay. And lo, as Avigal already spoiled for us, is no or not. Okay, so we have some of this translated. Let's see what else we could bang out. Okay, so we have a place to start. All this is all previous stuff. Okay, now let's get to the new stuff. So Vaikra of Rav HaChovel. Let's start over here with this verb here, krav. Okay, so if we look in our glossary, let's go to the glossary.
Approach.
Right, krav is to be close, to come close, to approach. Karov means close in Hebrew. Okay, approach. So let's plug that in. The something approached to him. I'd say toward him. Who did this? The Rav HaChovel. Okay, so let's take a look at our glossary. The glossary. Back to the glossary. So we'll look for these words here. Now, a Rav in Hebrew could mean something which is abundant. Rav. It could also mean a person who is of great stature or a master. Okay, of an abundant stature. So Rav could be a master. Rava Chovel, and we'll see why in a minute, is the captain of the ship. Now we'll see why is the captain of the ship called Rava Chovel. Avigail had a little private lesson on this, but the Rava Chovel is the captain of the ship. Why? Why is that the word for captain of the ship? So we'll see. So I'm just going to fill in the captain, but you'll see the little star here. Let's go to the notes. Okay, the word Rava Chovel is related to the word Chevel, and a Chevel is a rope. Why was the captain called the Rava Chovel? Because the sailors would pull ropes to control the sails. So Chovel is a collective noun for the sailors. The sailors are the Chovel, the ones who manipulate the sails. How do they manipulate the sails? With ropes. And you could sort of imagine in your imagination, Pirates of the Caribbean, whatever. I never saw it, but you imagine like old clipper ships and pirate ships and these types of ships, you could just see the ropes everywhere. Everything's with a rope, pulling the ropes and extending the sails and turning the sails and retracting the sails and so on. It's all controlled by ropes and pulleys and things like that. So that's the chovel, the one who is the master of all this. Hey, hoist the rigging and whatever. If you read, what's his name? Swift, right? Gulliver's Travels. You can't understand half of it because the jargon, the sailing jargon it's a different language of all these different sailors terms, hoist the rigging and whatever. So who's giving all the commands? It's the Rava Chovel. And the reason it's called Chovel, the sails are controlled by ropes, Chevel. So controlling the sails or sailing is Chovel. The Rava Chovel, the master of the control of the sails, the master of the sailors, is what we call a captain. So the Rava Chovel approached toward him, Vayikrav Elov, Rava Chovel, Vayomer, and he said to him, Ma lecha nirdam. Okay, ma, now for those of you who know ma, very easy Hebrew word, go ahead. Now you can spit it
What?
out. He said to him, what, okay, is, it's implied state of being, lecha, two, and then, it could also be four, by the way, 2 or 4. And then we have the cha suffix. So I haven't been showing you the right tab. I'm so sorry. Here. Vayikrav Elav Rava Chovel. And the captain approached toward him. So I got to tell me if I'm on the wrong tab. Vayomer lo, and he said to him, Malacha nirdam. What is le, 2 or 4, cha, chav suffix? Now we go to the glossary for the suffix. Okay? So we're going to go to the suffixes, and you'll see that this suffix here, cha, means you or your. Ooh, didn't mean to do that. You or your. Masculine, singular. So you're.
Is that like lech lecha?
Yes, exactly. Lech lecha. Go for yourself. Lech lecha. Go for yourself. So here, what is it for you to be asleep? Now it doesn't really work in English, but the idea is like, how could you be what is wrong with you? Are you shugna? Those boats about to break. Everybody's throwing things off the deck. Everybody's praying and you're sleeping. Malach on your dumb. It's like, what for you to be asleep? Means like, how could you be asleep?
We kind of say, what's with you? What's up with you?
With you? What's with you to be asleep? How could you be asleep? Again, it's not even to be, it's just asleep. What is for you asleep? Like, how could you be asleep?
We would probably say, what are you doing asleep?
What are you doing asleep? All these more comfortable English phrases work here. What are you doing asleep? How could you be asleep? This type of thing. Kum, get up. Kira el Elohecha. So now we have the cha is you or your. So call to your God or gods. He doesn't really know. We don't really know what he meant. Ulai, go to the glossary. Okay. And it's in the Quizlet. Ulai is maybe or perhaps. Okay. Ulai, perhaps. Yis ashes ha-Elohim. Yis ashes ha-Elohim. Okay, so the ha-Elohim, the gods, or it could be God, could just mean singular. That's why I put in parentheses. Yis ashes. This is a little complicated. So this prefix, we know yud is he will or it will. But here I'm pointing out that attached to the prefix is this tough. And this is called, this form, if we're going to go to our binyanim, our conjugal forms, is what's called binyan hit pa'el. So again, hit pa'el. Here's the pa'el. Pa'el is our sample shoresh, pei ayin lamed, action. So here the pei is the ayin, the ayin is the shin, and the lamed is the tough. Pa'el here is ashes. Hit pa'el is reflexive. Now the reason it has a hey is because that's the present tense, but or maybe the past tense. But yeah, that's the past tense form of it. This is the future tense form, so it has a yud. But be that as it may, reflexive. Reflexive means acting upon itself. Acting, actively acting, inward, selfward. So maybe God will yit ashet. So the question is, what is ashet? So for that, we go to our glossary. And we'll see that eshet over here has to do with thinking, considering, or willing something to be. So if you'll think about it, maybe God will think to himself. So the way I would put it, is maybe God, and it's future tense, the he will, the he here is Elohim, will what? I put this part, the reflexive part, will reconsider. Meaning we see that this is an act of God to destroy our ship. It seems to us to be a divine will that our ship will sink. But maybe if everyone will pray to his God, so God or the gods, Yit Ashet, will reconsider. They'll think again. They have one thought and they'll rethink it. Change his will. God will change his will toward us. Lanu, 2 or 4, new suffix. And new suffix, which I put in blue and in the Quizlet. New suffix. I didn't put it in here. I thought for sure I did. Okay. It's supposed to be in here. Oh, man. All right, let's put it in right now. Let's just throw it right in there. It's supposed to be new. Okay. Is as a suffix us or, come on now, our. Us or our. Okay. Now it's there. New is us or our. So reconsider 2 or 4 us. I would say reconsider toward us, for our sake. However you want to translate it, it works. Perhaps God will reconsider toward us. Velo noved. And here we have the nun prefix, but it's not the same as this nun prefix.
We're still on the glossary.
I'm still on the glossary. Thank you. Here, lanu. I put this in lanu toward us. Thanks, Cliff. I knew I could count on you. Here's a nun prefix. This nun prefix is different than this nun prefix. They're both nuns. It's true. Sometimes, and you're going to say, well, this one is nun with an O vowel. No. And this one is ni. No, it's not always going to be so abundantly clear that that's going to be the difference between these two. It's going to be context-based. This is going to be a context-based inference of which nun prefix we're dealing with. So now, if we look at our prefixes, pink prefixes, you'll see that I put 2 nuns. One's over here and one's over here. Here's our passive form nun that we met before. Near dumb, you're all asleep. Here it's the future tense we will. Okay, and based on context, you'll have to infer which nun you are looking at. Okay, so here it's the future tense, and we will lo, and we will not what avad with a aleph, avad with an aleph, not to be confused with avad with an ayin, which is to work. Avad with an aleph is to go lost or be destroyed. Okay, so that's what it means over here. We will not go lost or be destroyed, whichever way it works. Both of them work. Okay, so that's the verse. And the captain approached toward Jonah, and he said to him, "What is for you to be asleep?" How did we translate that? What are you
What are you
doing?
doing asleep?
What are you doing asleep? Okay, again, this is a very awkward direct translation. You have to translate towards the idiom of the language that you're translating into. What are you doing asleep? Get up. Call to your God or gods. Perhaps God or the gods will reconsider toward us and we will not go lost. Pray, and maybe God will change his mind and decide not to destroy us. Okay, and that we're a few minutes over, and that takes us to we started a few minutes late, so really we're just at an hour from when we started. So that is the end of verse 5, and we did verse 6. So we did a verse and a half, which is a great record. And we'll pause the class here. I'll take questions for 5 minutes. T. Bishop says, I've got to know why Ashkenazi pronounce tav as a S sound. Okay, so the specifically the tav that you're referring to is that letter tav can have two forms. One is with a dot, and one is without a dot. Okay, so there are certain letters in the Hebrew language that have two distinct sounds. One is a hard sound and one is a soft sound. Now, typically, there are 6 letters that are identified as what are called otiot kifulot. Otiot kifulot literally means double letters, meaning each letter has a double pronunciation. Okay, those letters are the way it's usually now I'm going to go a little deep here. The way it's usually expressed is beged kefet, which makes no sense, but that's the mnemonic. Beged kefet. Bet gimel dalid spells the word beged, which means clothing, and kefet, kaf pei taf, which spells kefet. What does kefet mean? Nothing. Nothing. So the reason this is a little bit of a problem is, what kind of a mnemonic is that? It doesn't mean anything. So you will find in some writings that they're actually, and they won't tell you this in Hebrew class. In modern Hebrew class, they certainly won't tell you this. There are actually 7 kifulot. There are 7 double letters. And the real mnemonic is, ready for this? I'll blow some of your minds. Beged kaporet. Oh, now it makes sense. Beged kaporet. Beged is a garment, bet gimel dalet, and kaporet, kaf, pei, reish, taf. Kaporet is the covering of the ark. It's called the kaporet. Okay, beged kaporet, the garment of the covering of the ark. Okay, okay, those are 2 words. Beged kaporet. What's beged kefet? Nothing. The problem with beged kaporet is nobody knows what the 2 pronunciations of the reish are. If reish is one of these letters, what are the 2 pronunciations? So there are a whole range of opinions. Bottom line is, nobody really is particular. So what are the different opinions? Let's leave the reish off to the side for now. Let's go with beged kefet, which is what they teach in modern Hebrew. Bet, with the dot, is a hard sound. B. Hard meaning it's an abrupt sound. There's no continuity to the sound. It's just b. Quick sound, staccato. B. But without a dot, it's pronounced with the lips. It's called a labial letter. B. That's the hard B, staccato B with a dot. And without a dot, it's the soft letter. It's an extended sound. You could just do that as long as you want. That's why it's called a soft sound. Okay, Gimel. Ready? This is controversial. With a dot, G. It's a palatal. It's made with the tongue against the palate. G. G. Staccato. Without the dot, ready for this? It's a rimmel. Rimmel. Tongue against the palate, but soft sound. Rimmel. Okay. The Yemenites, you do that sound. Sephardim do not, and Ashkenazim do not. For Sephardi and Ashkenaz, it's always G. Okay. Dalet. With a dot. D. Staccato. D. It's a dental letter. D. Without the dot, like TH in the. Fine. Yemenites pronounce it. Sephardic and Ashkenazi Jews do not. They pronounce both forms as D. In other words, these were pronunciations that over the generations became muddled. The Yemenites preserved it. Kefet, okay, kaf, with the dot, k, k, staccato, k, palatal letter, k, k. Without the dot, soft sound, chaf, fine. Pay, with the dot, labial letter, p, p, p. Without the dot, pay, okay? Now, come to taf, with a dot, t, 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 dental letter, t, t, t. Without a dot, th as in throngs. I don't know what's a good th word. Not the same th as in the, but th as in broth, right? Now, for Sephardic Jews, same thing. It became a t sound for both. They lost the sound. It hardened to a t. For Ashkenazic Jews, it softened to an s sound. And the reason this happened is because in the countries where they lived, the languages that they grew up speaking did not have those sounds. So they lost those pronunciations over time. It was forgotten. So it was only preserved in locales where the local languages, and that's how some of these dialects changed. So in the Ashkenazic countries, you have like, think of like a German person. There's no th sound. So they for a like a th sound, they would say like this and that. And French people also, right? And if you would ask them to say broth, they would say brosse, right? They can't do it. So the Jews who grew up in those language groups also largely lost those sounds. But through scholarship, we can, and also whatever, we have preserved traditions from the Yemenites, etc. So that's kind of how the Ashkenazi taf, the soft taf, that got softened into us because of the Ashkenazic languages they were exposed to. Now we could talk about the Reish, but it's late and I need to go, so we'll have to leave that mystery for another time. The question was, why does the Ashkenazim pronounce the soft tav as a sound? That's the tradition that developed because of the languages that they grew up speaking in the countries where they lived. So it ended up muddling their Hebrew pronunciation as well, and it became a proud tradition. So we're going to hold it there, and we'll convene again, God willing, next week.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Thank you, Rabbi. Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Okay, good night, everybody.